All right, this is a nostalgia segment. You remember all those strawberry shortcake dolls or Star Wars dolls, or in my case, the $6 Million Man that you played with as a kid? You're going to meet the man behind them next. His name is Jacob Miles. He's the Prince of Play. He's coming up.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show.
Okay, I remember in the 70s, a huge $6 Million Man fan, and they came out with this really cool doll where his bionic arm, you could, remove the latex and see the bionic arm, and he had a bionic eye. I mean, it was really, really cool. Well, I'm geeking out a little bit because the man behind that doll is sitting in my studio right now, Jacob Miles, the Prince of Play. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, I'm going to give and this is just a partial list. Care Bears, Batman, Superman, Ghostbusters, GoBot, Pound Puppies, Star Wars. I mean, your home is probably a museum.
I wish I had saved all of those. There's a couple of them that I didn't, like the Stretch Armstrongs and the Alien, which my mom threw away. But yes, exciting products.
Okay, so how did you get introduced to that world?
Well, I started out as an engineer and entered an engineering apprentice program for at-risk youth in Cincinnati, and went to work for GE part of the day, and the University of Cincinnati half the day, working with machinists and engineers. And then from there, found my way to Procter & Gamble tooling and engineering, and then to Kenner Toys, who was actually founded in Cincinnati on Kenner Street, which was right across the street at the time from Procter & Gamble, and they both were in the soap business at that time.
Wow. So you get this job, but you have no idea that you're about to work on some of the most iconic toys of all time.
I had no idea. I thought that, well, this should be fun, toys, because I'd never thought about a career path in toys going into engineering. But when I got there, it was very, very different, very entrepreneurial.
That's awesome. Jacob came on my radar screen because I was watching Channel 5 on Saturday morning, and they had this wonderful feature story. It was tied into May the 4th, the Star Wars Day, and let's go ahead and roll that clip.
May the 4th be with you. Get ready to hear that a lot this Saturday, the annual celebration for fans of all things Star Wars. To celebrate, Heritage Auctions is putting this extremely rare action figure of Boba Fett from the movies up for bids. They expect it to sell for more than $250,000. The man who created this toy and thousands of other iconic toy lines lives right here in DFW. NBC5's Keenan Willard takes us inside the workshop of Jacob Miles, the Grapevine Man, known as the Prince of Play.
I'd have to say Star Wars is my favorite. These I had at Kenner, in my Kenner office.
Jacob Miles' office is a treasure trove filled with rare action figures from Star Wars, Care Bears, and Pound Puppies. But he's not just any collector. Miles created these toys, some more than 40 years ago.
I was Santa Claus to all my nieces and nephews because I make toys.
Miles grew up in the housing projects of Cincinnati, Ohio, using a program for at-risk kids to graduate with an engineering degree. He started working with aircrafts and machine tools, but always wanted something more.
It wasn't happening enough, if you will. Wasn't enough energy around it.
In the 1970s, Miles found his calling, working for Kenner Toys. Ideas for toys would be pitched to the company, and it was his job to bring them to life.
You got to bring it out. You got to make them love it. You got to touch the heartstrings.
Over the course of his career, he created classic toys like Strawberry Shortcake and the $6 Million Man. And he was also part of the team that met with a young director named George Lucas, who had an idea that would become one of the most iconic franchises of all time.
We sat there, looked at the script, you know, and we decided to fund the movie.
Miles built the Star Wars spaceships and action figures that millions of kids grew up with. And then he tapped into a market the toy industry wasn't meeting.
I created my own toy line. I created my own toy line called Cultural Toys.
Miles started a company aimed at bringing more diverse toys to shelves, earning recognition for his efforts to let black and brown kids finally see themselves in the toys they were playing with. Today, he's still hard at work creating new toy lines. Miles's wife calls him the Prince of Play, saying he'll never grow up or stop bringing kids' dreams to life.
It was always tremendously rewarding to see the stuff that you traveled the world to make on the shelf. And it's just amazing to me that, like I said, it's still impacting people.
Keenan Willard, NBC5.
Okay, I have to ask you, did you have to get the star's permission? So when you make the $6 Million Man, does Lee Majors have to like sign off and say, yeah, that looks like me?
Yeah, well, first we'd have to get the licensing rights from the studio. And then we'd have to, when we sculpt the character, we have to get the celebrity to sign off on their image so that that character looks as close to them as possible as we can in that piece of plastic.
Wow. You also were featured in a nice piece done by Heritage Auctions. Let's go ahead and roll that piece.
Jacob Miles, I am one of the original Kenner Star Wars engineers.
From Kenner's Star Wars collection comes the Stormtrooper, the Sand People, and all 20 action figures, including new Hammerhead, Snaggletooth, and more.
The whole point of making them small was that a kid would want to have all of them.
And now, Boba Fett, Star Wars villain with his laser rifle. Boba Fett is not yet available in stores.
Boba Fett came in, we were, marketing had come up with a promotion to give away a figure.
With 4 proofs of purchase.
With the purchase of 4, I believe it was. We had no idea Boba Fett would end up being what he is today.
I am Boba Fett. The ship you seek is nearby. Follow me, friend.
Projectiles were always touchy subject. We were seeing in the marketplace that other people were doing it, and particularly Battlestar Galactica was doing it.
Vipers on target.
And nobody was having any problems. So we convinced quality that we could do it, and we could do it, you know, better and safer. Big discussions, but nonetheless, they agreed for us to do it. Obviously, when Battlestar Galactica had their issues, we immediately just shut it down and destroyed everything. We had we had advertised it, and we were going to send it out, and so we were very concerned about creating a disappointing kids, because we had shown that thing taking off. But Carl Wojan, our head of safety, said, well, you'll have a bigger concern if you ship it. So he shut it down, and so I had to go back and figure out, you know, how I'm gonna cover up that slot in the mold, you know, which did not turn out as well as we thought, because it still has, let's see, little sink marks and so forth on there. So in this case, we had to have calls and faxes and make sure that we were getting everything destroyed, stopping everything that was built and packaged. So it was a pretty big ordeal. But I always think about, wow, if I just held on to this or that or this or that, you know, in the beginning, it would be amazing. Fortunately, I did hold on to some. When I look at it today, I really wish back then we had done more versions of him.
We'll meet again, friend.
We coined the phrase at Kenner, Star Wars is forever, when we hit $200 million in sales. A $6 million man took us to $100 million, and then within 3 years, Star Wars had us at $200 million, and with no end in sight. We were always chasing Star Wars. We never really caught up to demand, so we were always chasing it. About that time, we realized that, whoa, this is something really special. This is historical.
And Jacob, I know something that you're very passionate about is passing on a love of knowledge and learning to young people. What's your message when you go to schools?
When I go to schools and talk to kids, it's mainly about, the STEM and the STEAM behind the things they love. The STEM and STEAM behind toys, behind sneakers, behind video games. They have no idea that you can get a job in toys, you can get a job in sneakers. And so we try to just help them to understand that toys, engineering, math can be fun.
Yes, and he is a serial entrepreneur. Despite this legendary career, he's not in a rocking chair. He just started a new company a couple years ago. We're going to put this up on the screen. MAP Esports Network. Why don't you explain what this is?
Well, MAP Esports Network is a company that focuses on digital experiences, and they're career-focused digital experiences, so that we use esports, gaming, robotics, coding, competitions to help people in their career path, to promote team building, digital literacy, and then we combine that with curriculum, and then also with a mentorship program where we work with nonprofits to come work with those companies, and then the companies get to interact in the community with the people they serve and be able to have an impact on building their future workforce, because they're helping make these kids in disadvantaged communities more digitally literate.
And that is so incredibly important, because the future is in AI and cyber work. So you're really changing young people's lives, aren't you?
Well, that is what we endeavor to do. And I had tremendous feedback from teachers as well as kids that have gone on to enter into careers that they hadn't thought about. So yes, very excited about the impact and this positive social impact that we're going to have. You mentioned AI, and that's the future. AI is already beginning to show up in toys, and probably at this next toy fair, we're going to see a lot of AI in toys.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for the gift that you've already given the planet and the gifts that you continue to give the planet based on your work with MAP Esports. In the last minute or so, I want you to look into the camera on the left and talk to that young person who might be lost and they just haven't found a direction yet.
Well, I think the way to think about life is to think about having fun. Fun and play is a critical portion of life. When you look at toys and you look at games, you look at those things, all they are simulations of life. They can be exaggerated or they can be downplayed, but they're simulations of life. Fun is just a critical part of a successful life. So I would say, look for where you can have fun, turn that into a career, and enjoy your life.
Wow, that's a great way to end this segment. We're also going to leave you with his website, which is mapesports.net. The great Jacob Miles, the Prince of Play. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.